Hello, this is Sarah Tuberty, your host from Disarming Disability. Enjoy the following program on Public House Media.
Hey, this is Lee.
And this is Chelsea.
And we are the host of your new favorite sales podcast, See Jane Sell.
Join us every Thursday for a new episode where we will tackle the realistic world of sales and maybe teach you a thing or two along the way.
You can subscribe to See Jane Sell on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, CastBox, and Spotify. Thanks, and enjoy the following podcast on Public House Media. Hello. Welcome, and thank you for joining the Confessions of a Military Spouse podcast. I am your host, Jenna Burt. I am a military spouse of almost 10 years, a health and fitness enthusiast, a mom to the most wonderful little girl, and a dental assistant. Again, I want to thank you for being here with me today, and if you find that today's episode resonates with you or you know someone that could benefit from hearing this episode, I highly encourage you to share it. Also, I so greatly appreciate any and all feedback, so if you would like to leave me some feedback, please feel free to email me at confessionsofamilspouse@gmail.com, or you can find me on Instagram or Facebook at Confessions of a Military Spouse, or feel free to reach out to me via publichousemedia.org. So on today's episode, we are going to be talking about home-based businesses and the military spouse. So let's dive right in. Whether you call it a home-based business, direct sales, network marketing, MLM, pyramid scheme, whatever you want to call it, and call it what you want, we all are talking about the same thing. And let's be honest, as soon as you heard one of those words, you immediately thought of someone that was involved in something of that nature. Whether it's good or bad, a name popped into your head. And if you know me, it could have even been my name. And the reason that somebody's name popped into your head or that you even know about this is because direct sales and home-based businesses are becoming a very large population of quote-unquote work. Everyone knows of them or has heard of them, and like I said, probably knows someone involved. So why do we know, or why do we think that we know so much about these home-based businesses? Like I said, part of it is because it's becoming a very rapidly growing population of work. But the other reason that I feel like we know so much or think that we know so much about these businesses is because they don't necessarily have a good rap. And immediately, when you heard one of those words in the beginning of this episode, like I said, it may have been a good thought, it may have been a bad thought. I feel like people that I talk to, it's split 50-50. People either love it or they hate it. But why do these businesses not get a good rap? Well, in my opinion, it is because Susie down the street promises Joan that she can make $5,000 a week. Joan gets super excited and is like, yes, let's do it. Now, it's not that Joan can't make that money, but the problem occurs, and where I feel like businesses, these home-based businesses get their bad rap, is because Joan doesn't put in the work that Susie did or still does to make that $5,000 a week. And I can tell you this because I know firsthand, these businesses will not work unless you do. And I'm going to say that again because I feel like that can leak into other areas of your life, that the business won't work unless you do. And I feel like that's where the bad rap comes into play, because most people going into home-based businesses go in thinking that it's going to be a get-rich-quick thing. They're going to sell a few things to some family, some friends, and then bam, all of a sudden you have all this money. But unfortunately, that's not actually how it works. You have to operate your business just like that, as a business. And to be honest, most direct sales companies or home-based businesses do not have business training. So unless you have a business training on your own from, maybe another company, or maybe that's what you went to school for, you don't necessarily know exactly what you need to do in this home-based business in order to be successful. It also takes so much discipline. If you work your business part-time, you're going to make part-time money. If you work your business full-time, you can make full-time money. Obviously, there are always exceptions to that quote-unquote rule, but usually that's how it works, and that's what I've seen work. And most of you probably don't know, or maybe you do know, that are listening to this episode, that I actually have 2 home-based businesses. Yep, 2 of them. And I can hear the gasps now. Oh my God, she's got 2 home-based businesses. She's one of those crazy people. Listen, first of all, calm down. This podcast is not about my home-based businesses and trying to get you to buy anything I'm selling, because it's not actually why I have these businesses. So if you're curious in further detail as to why I have them, please feel free to reach out to me, because I'd be happy to explain it to you. But back to the reason that I actually am doing this podcast. Most people I know that have these home-based businesses are military spouses. Now, that could be because the circle of people that I'm involved with are mostly military spouses, and so that's what I see firsthand. Or it could be a statistic that military spouses run home-based businesses more than non-military spouses. I'm not really 100% sure, but in my opinion, I feel like a lot of home-based businesses are ran by military spouses. Now, my question to you is, have you ever wondered why that is? If you're a military spouse and you notice this too, or maybe even if you're not a military spouse, but you've wondered, like, why do all of these military spouses have these home-based businesses? Well, to be honest, I've wondered. My opinion or thought on the matter is that military spouses tend to, quote unquote, lose their identity when they become a spouse, because when they become a spouse, they become Gunnery Sergeant so-and-so's wife, and they become their kid's mom and their spouse's spouse, etc., 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 and they tend to lose who they are as an individual. And I can say this because I personally have experienced this, and I would venture to say that most other military spouses have been in this same position at some point in their life. And maybe you're not even a military spouse, but you've gone through this. Maybe you're a teacher and, you're Miss So-and-so, the kindergarten teacher. You're still your kid's mom. Like, you don't even have to be a military spouse, I feel like, to experience the fact that you've lost your identity at some point in your life. And I feel like it's an easy thing to do because you get so caught up in being everything else to everyone else that you forget about yourself until you can't forget any longer because you don't even realize who you are without these other things. So for me, one of the things that I like to do to quote unquote keep my identity as Jenna Burt is to work. And I enjoy working, you guys. I work at a dentist office. I have my podcast. I enjoy it. And to be honest, I'm not cut out for the stay-at-home mom life. And working helps me to be me. A good friend of mine just put a quote up on her Facebook, and it was something along the lines of, your kids come first, your spouse come first, all of these things come first. And she posted, and her caption was, "I don't agree with this." Because you have to put yourself first and you have to have self-care in order to do all of those other things. So when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, you, yourself, has to come first. But I feel like the problem comes in for a lot of military spouses when they lose their identity because they are stay-at-home moms. And it's either because they enjoy it, it's what their family chose to do, they can't afford daycare. I mean, especially living in California, you guys, daycare is expensive out here. And there was a point in time that pretty much my whole paycheck was going to pay for daycare. And I sat down and I evaluated, is it worth it? But in my opinion, even that couple $100s that I had left over after paying for daycare was worth it for me to work. And in the end, I think that it has benefited my daughter too. And my husband agrees. But the list goes on and on. But for whatever reason, they can't or don't want to work outside the home, but they still want an identity as themselves. So I feel like that's when they turn to these home-based businesses. I also feel like there's other factors that go into their decision to start a business. And maybe it's that they want to help provide an income for their family. Because let me just tell you, we talked about how expensive daycare is in California. The pay for military members, especially the lower ranked members, is absolute crap, you guys. Anybody that's affiliated with the military can tell you this. And honestly, it kills me when I see these workers that want to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. I know it's happening in Illinois because that's where I'm from, and I try to keep up with stuff that's happening there. And I'm not saying that they don't deserve it, because I've worked in fast food myself, and I know that if they're actually doing their job, it is one of the hardest jobs out there. But what happens is that the military doesn't get to experience that raise as well when minimum wage is raised. So what happens is that the cost of living goes up, but the military pay stays the same. And that's challenging, but that's another topic for another day. So these military spouses want to help out their family and provide a little extra income to help out their family, but they can't or don't want to work outside of the home, so they turn to these home-based businesses. But as I said before, I think the bad name for these home-based businesses comes in when people expect to get rich quick, and that's not how it works. Sometimes you have to invest in your business before you can make money, and that isn't always easy. And it can become a vicious cycle of invest in your business, make money. Take that money, invest back in your business. Make money, take that money, invest back in your business. And then the question comes in of, well, when do you pay yourself? Is it 3 months down the road? Is it 6 months down the road? Is it a year down the road? And how much are you able to pay yourself? And maybe you are able to take some from each paycheck to pay yourself when you're first starting, but it's probably not going to add up to make a huge difference. And I feel like that's when most people give up. But if you continue to work at it, the chances of you being able to make enough money to actually make that difference for your family, I believe, is 100% possible. I've seen it happen. So now that these spouses have these home-based businesses, they tend to have a sense of identity because they are Susie that is doing this business, and they're providing some extra income, and maybe it's, extra income so they can go get their nails done every 2 weeks so they can feel even better about themselves. And so they have something to work for and towards. They have a sense of purpose because they're helping someone, and they feel like they're helping their family, and overall it helps them more than people probably realize. And let me just tell you, the one thing that really bothers me about people and home-based businesses is that people think that spouses or people join home-based businesses to sell you something or just to take money from you. And that's not actually the reason that they're doing it. Generally, they join for a deeper reason, but a lot of people don't see that or don't take the time to get to know that or understand why. This is what tends to happen. They see, oh, Jane joined a home-based business. Let me unfollow her so I don't have to see all of her notifications about her new business, and let me just pray that she does not message me so I don't have to figure out how to deny her because she'll know I read her message. Thank you, read receipts. Ugh, this is annoying. And I know you're probably laughing right now, but let's be honest, you also know it's the truth. Now, I'm not here to advocate for home-based businesses by any means, but what I want to point out is this. Because this is where I struggle to understand people and their logic and their reasoning. So let's say your friend Maria decided she was going to open up a business front. And let's say she's going to sell supplements. If you were friends with Maria, you would 100% support her. You would tell all your friends and tell them to tell their friends. You'd be doing whatever you could to help her. You'd be promoting for her. You'd be at her grand opening, etc., etc., etc. However, let's say Maria decides to join a home-based business that sold supplements. Would you have those same feelings? The answer is probably not. You would do exactly what I said earlier, and you would unfollow her so you don't have to see the notifications and the annoying posts. And then you would figure out how to politely turn her down when she messaged you, etc. And what I cannot for the life of me figure out, though, is why? So, If you know why, please reach out to me so we can chat and I can have a better understanding of this, because I just can't wrap my head around it. I have a theory as to why, and my theory is because people think that these home-based businesses are schemes and that people don't really make money from them and so on and so forth. But the truth is that they can, and they do make money. And it truly is no different than if they personally had their own business. And to be honest, they'd probably make less money if they had their own business/storefront, because if they had that, they would have overhead, employees to pay, stock to keep updated, CPA fees, electricity, rent, the list goes on and on and on. So they would probably make less having their own business, but yet people are way more supportive, and it just does not make sense to me. Like I said, I'm not here to advocate for home-based businesses by any means, but I am here to tell you that the next time your friend joins a home-based business, just know that they're doing it for a bigger reason and purpose. So instead of unfollowing, being annoyed, and whatever else, maybe take a minute to figure out why they really joined. Of course, they're going to give you the because I love the product and it worked for me stuff, which it probably really does. But I highly, highly encourage you to dig deeper and find out even further why they joined. Is it to provide a little more income for their family? Is it to have a sense of identity for themselves again? Is it just for fun? Whatever the reason may be, once you find out, I then encourage you even more to find out how you can help. And you guys, it may not even be related to the home-based business, because chances are, whatever the reason they joined this home-based business for, there are multiple avenues of ways that you can help them achieve whatever it is that they're wanting to achieve without buying anything. So, like I said, instead of turning your head and running away, maybe run towards them and simply ask, how can I help? And like I said, I'm not here to advocate for home-based businesses or stand up for spouses that run these home-based businesses. I'm simply here to give you a little more insight as to my reasoning why these spouses and other people decide to join these home-based businesses. So I hope that you have a fantastic Tuesday. Thank you for being here and spending this time with me today. And again, if you feel that any of this resonated with you, or you know someone who needs to hear this, please, please, please share.